This is Living Healthy with Jackie Bell, the show with the information on health that you need to know from people you can trust. Brought to you by The Woman in You.
Hi, welcome to Living Healthy. I'm your host, Jackie Bell. Tonight we're going to interview Susan Wadia Ells, who is the founding director of KnowBreastCancer.net. Know is spelled K-N-O-W because we're interested in knowing how to stop breast cancer from happening to you ever and never again. Susan, welcome to our show. We're so glad to have you.
Thanks, Jackie. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, as the founding director of Know Breast Cancer, could you tell us, let's just start by explaining how you founded the program, the project, and what its goals are and the background ideals for the project.
Sure. Well, Know Breast Cancer started because I lost one very, very dear friend to breast cancer. And I got very angry. I realized that for so many years there have been pink ribbons and people going on marches and walks and spin-a-thons and finding the cure. And I thought, well, why haven't they found this cure? If they've spent all this money and they've done all this activities, why not? And so I thought I would take a look at the whole breast cancer epidemic and just begin to answer some questions for myself about why do we still have a breast cancer epidemic that seems to keep thriving. And so I have a background in political science and economics, as well as some writing, a PhD in women's studies. And so I just took all of my research, I love to research, I just took all of my research interests, and for a couple of years I just read all of the international research on the causes of breast cancer. And I'm also a writer, and so I decided, well, most of these organizations are doing important work. They're looking at women who already have breast cancer, and they're raising money to try and find ways to treat breast cancer and hopefully one day to find the cure. But it seemed that there was no one or very few people looking at what are the causes of breast cancer. So I thought this would be good to look at the research on the causes of breast cancer, to translate that research into everyday language that you, me, anyone on the street can understand, so that women could begin to live a healthier lifestyle and help avoid breast cancer, or stop breast cancer, as we say, from happening to them ever or never again.
So what is, well, let's think about it. You've done a lot of research about breast cancer. What about the other organizations like Susan G. Komen, the Avon Walk for the Cure, or the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life? How is Know Breast Cancer different from these organizations?
Well, that's a really good question, because everyone really wants to know that. Like, why do we need another organization? Yeah. And the best way to describe it is, right now, most of Avon's programs, most of Komen's programs, and the American Cancer Society's programs are interested in helping women detect breast cancer, or detect what they call DCIS, ductal carcinoma in situ, and then help women get treated for this disease. And that's important if you have been unlucky enough to be diagnosed with breast cancer. What Know Breast Cancer is interested in is limiting the amount of women who ever get breast cancer, ever or never again. So what we've realized now is there's so many environmental causes, there are drug causes, and we can talk in a little while, I guess, about the 7 easy ways. So what Know Breast Cancer has done is we've taken all that research and we've distilled it into 7, as we call them, 7 easy ways of how to stop getting breast cancer ever or never again.
Okay, so tell us about those 7 easy ways.
Okay. And I know in your work, you in fact work in one of those easy ways, so I can't wait to hear you describe that piece. The very first easy way that we have, not what we've discovered and that we're advocating, is recent research that's come out on vitamin D3. And the research on vitamin D3 has been going on for 20, 30 years, and gradually people in the medical field have begun to understand that the sunshine vitamin, which is how most of us get vitamin D3, is an incredible vitamin. But now we're beginning to realize it's more incredible than we ever realized, which is that just since, I suppose about a year now, the research has come out in terms of how vitamin D3, if you have enough of it in your blood, can literally help a woman block breast cancer cells from ever forming and expanding and forming tumors, which of course is what we want to know about. And so what we're advocating is that women have a vitamin D3 test so that they know what the level of vitamin D3 is in their blood right now. And once they know what that level is, that they start to take supplements and be out in the sun 10 minutes a day in the middle of the day. Though in the Northeast, in New England, it's very difficult. Right. And in fact, one of the reasons that New England and the northern part of the United States has so much more breast cancer than Alabama, Arizona, Florida, is because we believe now that up here in the north, we don't get as much of the vitamin D3, the sunshine vitamin, as women do down south. And so, but it's easy, you just take supplements. The important thing is to know how much supplements to take.
For the 7 easy ways, the first one is vitamin D3.
That's right, to make sure your levels.
The second one is...
well, the second one, if we have the list, is to basically avoid any kind of oral contraceptives or birth control drugs.
Extra estrogen.
If you're over 40, because those are giving you, and they're giving you not... they're giving you artificial estrogen. They're not, they're giving you... it's chemical synthetic. It's not plant-based. It's dangerous. It's just your body doesn't need it. Right. And so we're finding with younger women, it's less of an issue. But when women are in their 40s, they just should be creative and find another way.
Okay.
And of course, then the HRT, the hormone replacement, for women who are older, who are going through menopause or after menopause, that the studies have now come out since 2003 to say that clearly that HRT drug has increased a woman's risk of developing breast cancer by 26%, and her risk of developing cardio arrest by 27%. So lots of good reasons that one wants to stay away from those drugs. And for women who say, but I really need, let's say, the hormone replacement, it helps my mood swings and I don't have hot sweats, and so I need that drug. Then what we say to them, well, the research talks about your diet. Let's look at your diet. And so one of the 7 easy ways is to have a low estrogen diet. And that means a low artificial estrogen diet, shall we say. We need some estrogens, but we don't need strong estrogens. And so one way of doing that is when you're purchasing chicken, is to make sure that the chicken you buy is organic, has no added estrogen, no added hormones to it. And milk, to know that milk, by definition, is filled with estrogen. It's just coming from a cow who just gave birth. And so you just really want to really limit the amount of dairy you eat, and especially any dairy that has this chemical, the bovine growth hormone, the RBGH, that is added to most milk products, unfortunately, in the United States. Now in Canada and in the European Union, they banned RBGH, which is considered an added growth hormone, as you were saying. That's been banned since 1989. So the U.S. cannot export any of our milk products unless it's organic to Canada or to the United Kingdom or European Union, because they don't allow people to have that chemical.
Wow,
so that's interesting. Huh? Yeah.
All right, so the third one then.
Okay, and a third of the 7 easy ways is filtering your water. Very important to, especially here on the Cape and up where I'm coming from, Cape Ann, North Shore of Boston. In these 2 spots in Massachusetts, we're drinking municipal water supplies that are coming from shallow or groundwater, and many of the wells are coming from shallow water, because in the Cape, of course, you have the sandy soil. And on the North Shore, Cape Ann, we don't have any soil. We have a lot of rock, you know. And so apparently when you're adding chlorine in the municipal water supplies to water that has organic material in it, it turns that organic material, be it leaves or whatever, into carcinogenic substances in the water. So it's very important to put a home health filter on the water coming into your house, or I have a filter on my shower head, and I have a filter underneath my sink. The next easy way that we talk to women about has to do with hair processing, hair straightening. And this is something that not a lot of people have begun to talk about yet. The research is pretty thin, but there's a lot of logic involved here. And what we're talking about is when you have very, very, very curly hair and you want to make that hair straight, sort of like this stuff is right now. If you don't have straight hair, but you have curly hair, and we're talking about ethnic curly hair. We're talking about kinky, very coarse, very curly hair. So, and that means that many African American women, and many women who are of the Ashkenazi Jewish descent have very curly hair, and when they straighten it, they need to use a lye-like process, unless they're using heat, and then to make it soft so that it can hang nicely or whatever, you need to use a placenta-based, very, very estrogenic, high estrogen hair conditioner. And you need to use it often. And so the concern is that as more and more African American women are being hit with a very fast-growing cancer breast cancer called triple negative, the question becomes, and also Ashkenazi Jewish women are finding that they are getting this type of breast cancer. And many younger women are getting it. Certainly younger black women are getting it more than younger white women, but all younger women are getting it more than older women. But the point is, what is causing so many young African American women to get this type of breast cancer, as well as, and we're seeing it in Nigeria and in Ghana. And in all of those three countries, US, Nigeria, Ghana, 80 to 90% of women are processing their hair. And so the question becomes, there's high estrogen in the conditioners. Is this adding the estrogen burden, which then will irritate breast cells, and then can cause this very nasty cancer? So again, the research isn't there, but we know that you're going to be healthier if you limit that animal estrogens coming into your body through your hair or through eating, through drinking water. So we're recommending that women find another way. They find other types of hair conditioners.
The next one you were going to talk about is detox.
Yes, exactly. And we're getting toward the end here. We call this the hardest of the 7 easy ways, because it's a hard one. What the research is showing is that for women who have already had a bout of breast cancer, that you are doubling, tripling your risk of developing a recurrence of breast cancer if you are drinking alcohol every day, 2 or more glasses of wine a day. If you are a regular alcohol drinker, not necessarily a heavy drinker, but just someone who will have a glass of alcohol every night, a wine, beer with dinner, that for women who have had breast cancer before, this really ratchets up the chances of a recurrence. Now, again, what we haven't said here, Jackie, and we really should, and I know you know this, but breast cancer is never caused by just one ingredient. It's a cocktail effect. And each woman mixes up different toxic ingredients to make their own personal toxic cocktail, which then ends up being breast cancer. So I'm not saying that anyone who doesn't have the vitamin D3 level up there, or someone who doesn't filter their water, is necessarily going to get breast cancer, or someone who has a glass of wine every day will necessarily get breast cancer if they've had it before. But it's this convergence of all of these different things, or a number of them. So what we're doing is we're asking women to know about all these 7 ways. But so the detox, I try and avoid it because it's such a hard one, is to say to really go easy on that alcohol. If you've never had breast cancer, again, try and limit yourself. Again, certainly not more than 2 glasses of wine a day, and hopefully less. Another way to detox is to detox from sugar, and that there's good research that shows the irritating effects of too much sugar in your body is going to make your pancreas pump out too much insulin, and insulin often has the same effect of irritating breast cells as too much estrogen. Also, too much sugar can end up in too much weight, and we haven't talked about obesity. That's not one of the 7 easy ways, but that's certainly a significant factor for many women in breast cancer.
Also, cancer cells need sugar to make energy.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's like fueling the fire.
Yes.
Fueling the fire, yes, exactly. And another thing to detox from is that nicotine, that there is good research out there that shows that nicotine, and I'm not sure that they're showing why this happens, but they're showing that it does happen. The same with nicotine. We're not sure why nicotine causes lung cancer. I don't think there's ever been a $10 million, $100 million, 20-year double-blind placebo-controlled study, but we know logic is lung cancer is often connected with smoking. And what they're seeing now is that that breast cancer is also connected with smoking. And then, of course, the 7th is the whole concept, and this is a heavy-duty political issue these days. We call it no mammograms. We're not saying NO, we're saying KNOW. Know about mammograms. Know about the research about mammograms. Know the dangers involved in mammograms. It's radiation. And know that there are gentler alternatives. And I know we met because you are a practicing European thermographer, and yes. So I'm going to turn it over to you and have you explain to our audience exactly why thermography is such a safe, good way.
Thermography is considered an adjunct to mammography and an adjunctive diagnostic tool according to the U.S. government. But thermography brings into the picture a whole nother view of your body. When you have a mammogram done, an MRI, or a sonogram, an ultrasound, what they're doing is they're taking a picture of your breast anatomy to see if you already have an aberration in the tissue, a thickness in the tissue that could be a suspicion of being a breast tumor or some kind of malignant growth. And from there, you go on to having a biopsy, and that is the only way that a doctor can tell if you have breast cancer is by looking at those cells under a microscope with a biopsy. So breast mammography screening really only looks at the breast to see if you already have it. And they know that if a lump is detected with a manual examination by your physician or a mammogram, that you've already had the lump there. You've already had the disease for 6 to 10 years at least. And in Europe, they claim it to be up to 20 years. And so we're looking at, with a mammogram, a static picture of a change in the breast tissue. Now, with European thermography, we're looking at a whole nother perspective. We're looking at the functioning health of the breasts, and because it's a whole body screening, we're looking at the functioning health of the breast in context of the whole body. So just as we've been talking about getting breast cancer is not the breast's fault, is what I always say. It's actually a symptom of what's going on systemically in your body, and that's where the symptom is coming up. So breast cancer could be an endocrine issue, a toxicity issue, a viral issue, an emotionally based issue. All of those things need to be addressed and looked at. And with a functioning test like European thermography, this is different from the digital imaging thermography, we can look at, well, what is the nervous system and blood circulation to the breast? Because we know that when inflammatory cancer or a lot of these dangerous cancers, one that you've mentioned, when they're growing, there's a lot of heat in the breast. Yes. And when breast cancer is forming, there's a lot of heat in the breast. And a mammogram can't pick that up at all. So when people want to prevent getting breast cancer, the best thing that they can do is get a whole body perspective, a functioning health perspective of their body, because we can look at the lymphatic system to see if it's congested, the immune system burden, the toxic burden, the endocrine health, how are your kidneys doing, your ovaries, your digestive tract, your liver. All of those things need to be addressed. And so thermography helps us to prioritize what a woman can do to stay healthy, and as you said, forever, and also never again get breast cancer if they've already had it.
Yeah.
And it also is very clever in helping to figure out what some of the underlying causes of disease symptoms such as breast cancer are. Because those underlying causes, if they're not addressed, if you just go after the breast as though it has a separate address from the rest of the body, and just using drugs and surgery for the breast tissue, you're not addressing the underlying root cause. And European thermography helps you to be able to do that, is address the underlying root cause.
Exactly. And it's like the drugs that when women have been diagnosed with estrogen positive breast cancer, they would be, or they're still given a drug called tamoxifen, and now they have some new drugs that they use after tamoxifen. But what the tamoxifen is doing is just blocking heavy estrogens from irritating your breast. But you don't necessarily need tamoxifen. You can do that yourself with a good diet that has low estrogen, the 7 easy ways, by making sure you're not using estrogen in your hair conditioner, by making sure you're filtering your water, by making sure that your vitamin D levels are at 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter just by popping a few supplements, $7 a month, and you don't have any nasty side effects that those drugs are doing. But the sad thing is, the medical profession is not quite up to where we are yet.
In the United States. In
the United States, absolutely. And we're only talking the United States. And of course, it's the United States that has the highest breast cancer rate in the world. So it's important that we do talk about the United States, and that's where we all are right now. So that's another reason it's important. So I think No Breast Cancer really is so much a woman-to-woman organization. There's no profit in prevention. There's no profit if we say, don't take the drug, but instead eat fermented soy.
Right.
I mean, maybe some fermented soy miso farmer is going to make an extra buck. But it's not a massive, drug sale that's going to go on.
It's not a 3,000% markup.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But women need to know that there are at least 7 natural ways of lowering our risk of getting breast cancer ever or never again.
There's one thing I'd like to leave our audience with, and it's this thought. In 2007, the World Cancer Research Fund, which you can go to that website, worldcancerresearchfund.org, you can look it up. They published a study, and they did a study on 12 different types of cancers in 4 different countries, the United States included. And they did a study, and what they wanted to do, or the results of the study showed the estimated percentage of these 12 different types of cancers that could be prevented in these 4 countries with diet, exercise, and weight loss. So think about it. 38% of breast cancer in the United States can be prevented just with lifestyle and nutrition. So my thought is, let's take that a little further. If that's an across-the-board thing for everyone, okay, let's do the 7 easy ways, let's get the detox going, let's get the nutrition going, let's get the weight loss going, all of that for everybody. Let's set up a nutritional foundation and a lifestyle exercise foundation for everybody. Then let's take each person. Let's take Susan, let's take Jackie, and let's screen you with a test like European thermography that will create an individualized program. So for me, because I was exposed to some kind of a virus and it was suppressed with antibiotics, maybe that virus is still living, and maybe I'm toxic from, living on a farm, or maybe a water supply, or like you said, the groundwater in Massachusetts. And so those would be some things that I would need to work on. Maybe we can see that my liver or my lymphatic system could use some extra cleansing or extra support. And then for you, maybe it would be different issues. So in addition to this foundation of nutrition and lifestyle, we could then develop individual programs for each woman to prevent breast cancer and stay healthy. I think that 38% estimated percentage of breast cancer prevention, that number would be a lot higher.
Well, yes, and with vitamin D3, that's the joy. I mean, what they are predicting, and these are computer models, if all women who have had a breast cancer diagnosis in the United States gets their vitamin D3 levels up to the 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter with supplements, they're talking about a 75% reduced death rate and this is from all cancers, so it would include breast cancer. That's huge.
That is huge.
And they're saying if enough of us who are interested in avoiding breast cancer are able to get our vitamin D3 levels up to 60 to 80 nanograms, and they're looking at what percentage of women are interested in taking that action for themselves. And it's not that huge, unfortunately, percentage, but it's enough. They're talking about in 2 to 3 years, as people like our viewers and ourselves get our vitamin D3 levels up to that level, they're talking about 50,000 fewer breast cancer diagnoses per year in the United States and Canada, which is about a 30% decrease in new breast cancer diagnoses. It's huge. It means we're going to see the end of breast cancer as we know it today. Breast cancer is going to become a disease that only occurs to women who are alcoholic and women who are heavy smokers, because what the research is saying is that vitamin D can't protect those two categories of people. But for the rest of us, we will virtually be protected from ever developing breast cancer. So the news is very good, very good. And but only women right now are talking to women about this, and so we need to really continue that conversation.
So what can our viewers do to help support NoBreastCancer.net? What are some things that we can do here in Massachusetts to support this national project?
Well, there are a lot of things. One, they can go and learn more about what we're talking about here today. Just go to our website, which is NoBreastCancer.net, as you said, KNOW, breastcancer.net, N-E-T. And you can therefore read the 7 easy ways that, and the research. Some people will say, I don't believe that's true or that can't be true, but we've got the citations there for you. We've got some video tapes as well, so you can see researchers talking about the 7 easy ways. And so you can learn more yourself personally. You can forward that email on, or the website on to your friends. We're also coming up with a new program called Breast Cancer Associates, or No Breast Cancer Associates, so that if you send No Breast Cancer $7, $10, $100, we'll send back to you a little pack of No Breast Cancer Associate cards. And on it has our website and maybe a space if you want to put your name. And then on the back, it has the 7 easy ways. Wow. So that you can go to work, you can go to your family reunion, and you can just hand out the No Breast Cancer Associate card. So we're trying to, and we're doing more and more with social networking, so that we're trying to make this kind of a viral kind of experience, so that all women will automatically know about the 7 easy ways. And you can send us some really nice tax-deductible contributions. And what we're going to do with the money we get this year, if we're starting a 2010 National Public Radio advertising program about the 7 easy ways. So we'll start first in metropolitan Boston, and then we're going to go nationwide as we get additional funding. And basically giving money to No Breast Cancer will become giving money to NPR, which will be a nice thing in itself. But our feeling is that women who are listening to NPR sometimes are those who are in teaching professions or are business leaders, and can really help change opinions in many ways. And so we want to educate those women so that they can carry the news further. We're sort of like, No Breast Cancer is really a cheerleading organization. It's woman to woman sharing this good news.
And if you'd like to know more about European thermography and the work that I'm doing there, you can go to naturalbell.com. Susan, thank you so much for joining us on Living Healthy. You've been a sensational guest informing us about the 7 easy ways to stop breast cancer from happening to our viewers.
It's been delightful.
I'm Jackie Bell. Join us again next time on Living Healthy.